All right, welcome to the What If podcast. Your hosts tonight are gonna be, God damn it, Spencer, Worth Davis, and Ryan Craprat.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, what's up, dude?
Hello, my good fellow.
What's up, dude?
Hello, my good fellow.
What's happening?
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great.
Feel like it's been, 10 or 12 million years since we've done one of these.
Yes. 2 weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Dos semanas.
We traveled. I nearly perished. It was a thing.
It got bad there for a minute.
I mean, bro, you didn't see it. You should have seen it.
I heard about it.
Actually, I'm glad you didn't see it. It was
heard about it.
It was not pretty. You heard me? It wasn't pretty for anyone. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to still sound a little raggedy today.
It's okay. I'll just auto-tune you and put some nice reverb.
Oh, yeah. Smooth me out a little bit.
Ryan's T-painting this shit from a cave tonight.
Can you run me through the old Morgan Freeman filter and have me just sounding...
Only if you occasionally comment on what the penguins are doing.
Oh, sure. You know what I should have looked up? I should have looked up famous Morgan Freeman movie quotes and just said Morgan Freeman-esque things throughout the show.
Sure. I feel like if you improvise it, it'd probably be better anyway.
And then you would have had to guess which things were Morgan Freeman quotes or actual reactions to things we're talking about.
I feel like that would be very easy to figure out.
Thank y'all for listening to last week's LA show. We hope y'all, first of all, thanks everybody who came out to the LA show.
True.
We haven't had a chance to tell you that via this channel. And then thanks everybody for listening. We hope y'all dug listening to a live show. And it was a super fun room and a fun time. And we hope y'all had fun with a little bit of a different episode. Our holiday spooktacular. Things are getting spookier now, man, because it's friggin' fucking dark at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Bro.
I'm not used to it, man.
What are we doing?
My clock's all goofed up.
What are we doing?
Being here, you mean?
Yeah.
It's 6 degrees today and got fucking pitch black at 4:30 p.m. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we live where a beach is? If you have a beach.
My dog loves it.
Oh, really? Because mine's the opposite.
He loves nothing else, nothing more than just laying outside in the snow.
My dog is an Akita Husky mix, so she loves being in the cold. But what she doesn't love is the dark because she gets real scared and then she runs away from stuff. So I can barely walk her at night because she's like, what was that? What was that? What was that? And then she just wants to go home. She's like, no, I'm good. This isn't fun.
I'm a daytime dog, Dad.
This isn't fun for me anymore. Daytime Dad Dog's Ghost Blog. Gonna win a daytime Emmy.
Oh, God, I hope so.
God, that'd be great. I hope we win one award at some point in our podcasting careers.
Absolutely will not.
Because it will just make this whole thing even funnier if someone awards us for something. Speaking of us not having done this for a while, I feel like we have, speaking of 10 to 12 million of things,
an aggressive amount of voicemails?
10 to 12 million voicemails in our backlog.
So here's the thing.
Yes, sir.
When you're not here to talk to me on the Patreon episodes,
yes, sir,
I just say stuff and then get lonely because no one responds, and then I ask the listeners to call us about things instead, and a lot of them followed through. So we'll see if any of these are relevant.
If anybody said those type things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll just start at the top.
Sick.
Hi, it's Liz from Massachusetts. I've been listening to the podcast for about 6 months.
Thanks,
I
Liz.
ran out of free episodes and subscribed to the Patreon.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across your episode where you're talking about the Danny Phillips fetus guy. And in psychology...
So that's a thing I missed.
I'm
apparently.
sorry, who? Denny Phillips fetus? Is that what she said?
Wait, I thought this was a thing that you had in a private conversation with our listeners.
I mean...
I heard Danny Phillips fetus guy.
Yeah.
There's a fetus... Wow. Y'all, when we tell you we don't retain the things we talk about on the show, we are not lying to you. What the fuck?
There's actually a type of amnesia. I forget if it's rogue or fugue amnesia. But people will completely forget everything, and they kind of just go about life, but in a very strange way. And there's been a lot of times where people have ended up thousands of miles from where they originated.
A fugue state.
Oh, was this maybe the guy who disappeared in New York when he was skiing and showed up in California a couple weeks later?
Why'd you call him a fetus guy?
I don't think she said fetus.
Oh, we just misheard that?
Yeah. Well, that's my hypothesis for now.
Skiing.
Skeetus?
Skeetus. Geetus? Was it a Geetus reference?
And a lot of these, like, David Paulides freaky disappearances really seem like they could be that because it's mostly induced by stress or a TBI. And I think that in a lot of these cases, it seems like these people are either stressed or really smart, which can make someone very stressed.
Preach.
She just said smart people are more stressed?
Yeah, that's how I feel all the time. Feel too smart, and it freaks me out.
Yeah? That's the angle we're going with?
No, the joke is that we're not smart on this show.
I haven't been stressed in years.
Or
I wish. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Have a possibility of having hit their head on something. So it was just something that I kind of thought would make sense. Love the podcast and keep doing what you're doing.
So let's assume maybe...
Thanks, Liz. Bye.
Love you. Let's assume maybe she was talking about the disappearing skier guy.
Yes.
Whose name I don't remember, obviously.
I don't either.
That would make sense if you, like, smashed your head skiing and then took a cross-country trip.
It probably seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
And then also didn't have a recollection of how you got across the country in those 2 weeks or whatever.
Or why you made the decision to go across the country in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Just compelled to go to the beach, man. I get it.
What episode did we talk about that guy on?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Previous one?
A previous, as discussed on a previous episode of the What If podcast. We need a wiki or something like that could be searchable where everybody, like, all the topics we talk about are in the wiki.
We're going to need a few more listeners for that.
We're going to need some help. We're going to need some help.
All right, here's another one.
Hey, what if, guys? This is Tucker from Iowa City. I've called before. Love you guys so much.
Hi, Tucker.
I want to share this with you because I was out in the woods the other day and I managed to get the weirdest recording. So I'm going to play it for you right now.
Yes.
And just let me know what you think. You really freaked me out, okay? It goes like this.
I'm nervous.
That was about the gist of it. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Anyway, love you guys. Keep up. Bye.
Love you too, Tucker. Oh my God.
Good job.
Great job. Holy friggin' shit, buddy.
Yeah, man, you definitely caught some squatches getting after it.
You fucking nailed it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there were some, I don't think I can hear that again immediately right after that, but I'll listen to it later.
Did you hear some frequencies outside of the range of human hearing?
No,
that
but
can only be made by Sasquatches?
No, but it definitely sounded like Tucker embedded some words in his Squatch impression throughout the process there, and I'm not entirely sure if there was a baked-in message that we missed.
Wow. God bless you guys.
God, have I told you guys that we love you lately? Have I told you? I can't sing that. The real talk though, that's a pretty good emulation of exactly how the fucking Sierra Bigfoot sounded.
Yeah, weird. It's almost like it's really easy to just make those sounds as a person.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy because I could never do what Tucker just did. I am going to say though that like it's very doable by humankind because Tucker's made it so for us.
We got a call from the number 110000.
I hope it's weird. I hope the message matches the number.
To the What If podcast. Great up, bitches! Hi, this is Amber calling from the UK. It's not your typical drunk US fat boy. I freaking love the podcast. You get me through long sessions of washing up, cleaning.
Amber from the UK, we love you, but I don't think we can hear what you're saying.
Can we? Is there a way?
There's like a lot of stuff that's just cutting out. Sorry. Love you.
All right. Thank you for calling from the UK. Try it again.
Yo, this is important.
Hey, my name's Gabriel. I just started listening to your show.
Thanks, Gabriel.
I just listened to the glitter one, and it struck me. A large consumer of glitter. This is kind of horrifying, but I think it might be food, specifically candy and soda. You know, think about it. They want to make their stuff look good. They want you to buy it.
Fucking think about it, Ryan.
Kind of goes back
Are you
to
thinking?
the whole,
If you fucking think about it.
You know, finding water thing. We like shiny stuff because we're trying to find water. You put it in soda, and there you go. People want to drink more soda. Anyways, just had that thought. Thought I'd share it with you. Thanks for the show. Bye.
Thanks for weighing in. That's actually pretty topical because there's a bit of an update on the
we
glitter
can say
episode.
Conclusively that you are wrong.
Yeah, but also we can say conclusively we were wrong too. Yeah, it's not just about you. It's about
we were all wrong.
So it's actually additionally topical because the podcast that cracked the case is the same podcast that we referenced in the Geetus episode, who cracked the Geetus case. Shout out to the Reddit NPR combo podcast Endless Thread, which if you're not listening to, you should. It's really good.
It's pretty good, yeah. It's WBUR.
Yeah,
Wubber.
they're in Boston. So what they did was they caught the same, article / Reddit thread around the glitter conspiracy that we broke down on that episode that we did an episode around. And they went further down the investigative journalism rabbit hole to try to get to an answer. And the conclusion they came up with on the episode, should I spoil it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, if you don't want to know the conclusion they come to and you want to listen to the episode,
hit the 15 seconds ahead
go
button.
bump ahead. But the conclusion that they come to is that it is boat manufacturers creating glossy, shiny boat hull paint.
Boat holes?
Hole. Like Brett. Like Brett or Bobby.
Got it.
Boat holes. So
I don't understand why that would need to be secretive, though. I haven't listened to the episode yet, so I'm assuming they discussed that.
Yeah, so I listened to it. The reason...
Keep skipping ahead, skippers.
Yeah, keep skipping ahead. The reason
that they
reference,
Ryan.
Oh, God damn it. I'm leaving. I'm out. I'm done for the day. What they say is it's not necessarily about the buyer or the item itself that makes them want to be secretive. The secret itself is significantly more pedestrian, but the reason that they want to be so secretive about it, they hypothesize, is because it's good for business. Because if they so let's say you're a glitter manufacturer and 65% of your money comes from the boat industry. Well, if other glitter manufacturers learn that, they just go, okay, I didn't know that was such a big market.
You start losing business.
I'm going to go to every boat manufacturer in the country, sell them my glitter products for 80% of what they're buying them for now, and all of a sudden we lose 65% of our business to all these other companies. So the way they make it sound is like there's very obvious products, like yes, we sell fucking shit that shows up in Michaels. Yes, we sell glitter that shows up in whatever, kids' toys and Star Wars toys or whatever. But in terms of like pure volume and where the money's really made, they don't want to expose those types of things because if they did, their customers would get poached.
They open themselves up to more competition.
Exactly. And then there's a race to the bottom on prices and all that stuff. So it's an interesting take. I don't know. There's a lot of the, in the glitter episode, we talk about a lot of the hypotheses that got raised in that, both on the New York Times comment section as well as in the Reddit thread. And there's a handful of them in there that they kind of just dismiss, where they're like, nah, like almost literally they go like this, nah. And it's like, wait, but did you really research it? Or
do you have any examples? Do you remember?
Like one of them was, like the food one, actually. They're like, food? No, that's not it. Something else. And I'm like, well, wait, like you can't just say that.
I might need a little bit more. Yeah.
And maybe they did do research that led them to the conclusion. I mean, I never thought food was the thing because it'd be so hard to get past like the FDA to just be adding.
Depends on how conspiratorial we want to be.
I mean, yes, but I mean, it's literally made
shiny
of
sodas,
plastic
Ryan.
and metal. And like, if people were adding it to food, that would be outrageous. And the FDA would be able to test for that so easily.
You know, else would be outrageous? Crack cocaine.
I mean, that's not sanctioned by the FDA in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure what the overlap is there. But anyway, they dismissed some things outright that I don't know should have been dismissed outright. Yeah. But the boat one made a lot of sense. They talked to one manufacturer who said at one point, I want to say they were buying like 30 10-gallon drums of glitter a week.
Boats are big.
Boats are big. And so, I mean, if you're selling 300 gallons of glitter a week to one manufacturer, that's, I mean...
It's a lot of shiny shit.
It's a fuckload of shit.
Yeah, all right.
Anyway.
I buy it.
But thanks for weighing in.
Yeah. Soda.
Person. I forgot that person's name already.
Sparkly Poos. Wouldn't we have Sparkly Poos if it was in soda?
We'd for sure have Sparkly Poos.
God, that'd be cool.
Would it?
Yeah.
Is that really what you're looking for?
Yes, absolutely.
People would poo in public more often, and we don't want that. They'd want to show off how sparkly their poo is instead of keeping it to themselves.
Just post on my Instagram story more often.
We've hit a new low.
All right, moving on. You want to talk about weird shit in the ocean?
For sure.
Okay. How about the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Let's do this.
Really fun to say.
Baltic Sea anomaly. Baltic Sea anomaly.
Short version. There's a group of Swedish treasure hunters.
Which, can I literally supplant my life right now and go be a Swedish treasure hunter? Because this is so cool.
You would fit right in Sweden, first of all.
Thank you.
Everyone speaks English. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be that hard of an adaptation for you.
Yes.
And these guys specifically hunt shipwrecks with large quantities of booze on them.
So I'm literally...
I feel like it's basically your calling.
I literally am in the wrong world.
For example...
Don't tell my brand new wife that I'm moving to Sweden to go hunt booze.
She could come with.
It's true. She'd love it.
She could be Nordic.
Not really. She's quite Jewish, but...
Well, I'm sure they got Jews in Sweden.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right. She's coming. We're all going. Fuck it. You guys come too. We'll all go hunt treasure.
I'm actually like a quarter Swedish, so I feel like...
All right, dude.
It's natural.
Maybe
I'll drink ancient booze from the bottom of the ocean.
I'd love nothing more.
In 1998, the group is called Ocean X. And in 1998, they found a shipwreck with 2,400 bottles of champagne from 1907 sealed in this shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean. And those bottles ended up selling at auction for $2,800 per bottle.
Weren't there only a certain number that were salvageable enough to actually drink and sell at auction?
I believe they sold 2,400.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I tried to do some research about how long stuff lasts, and unless being at the bottom of the ocean significantly changes the life expectancy of champagne, none of it would have been drinkable. Champagne does not last 100 plus years normally.
It was drinkable. I don't know how or why, but it was.
Is it like because of being dark or cold?
I think it's both. Okay. I think it's the temperature and the lack of light to spoil whatever's in there that actually preserves it.
Because normally champagne doesn't last more than like 10 to 15 years is what I could find.
Sure. I can't see them wanting to get it and sell it for those types of prices if it was undrinkable. I just feel like it would be significantly less valuable to like collectors.
Yeah.
If there wasn't an actual a consumption element to it, I guess. Yeah. Did you see, by the way, just a quick aside about these fucking guys, did you see that they sold them for, how much did you say they sold them for a bottle?
It was $2,800 per bottle.
$2,800 per bottle.
Times 2,400 bottles.
Yeah. Did you see that now, because of their rarity, collectors buy them for 21,000 euro a piece? Which is like...
What's the euro at these days?
It's like that's
1.2 or something.
It's closer to like $25,000, I think.
Damn. It's still more than $1, right? 1.1 US dollars these days.
Got it.
So yeah, about 25. That's
25-ish. So $25,000 a bottle.
Something, yeah.
Would you not have just like, you should have auctioned 100 bottles, made them super rare, and then been like, cool. Now that these are very expensive.
I threw my phone across the room. What's 2,400 times 2,800? That's got to be a pretty fucking big number still.
Let me see. That is 6,720,000.
That's pretty okay.
Yeah, but if you sold 2,400 bottles for $25,000 a piece.
Well, they auctioned them. Obviously, they didn't know or weren't able to get $25,000 a piece.
$60 million.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Also, this is $1998, so $6 million went a lot farther in 98 than it does in 2017. They're probably doing fine. Anyway, so these guys, there's a great introduction to this topic in the form of a documentary about this Ocean X team that's available for free on YouTube, and I will link to in our show notes.
It's called The Mystery Beneath.
It is. So these guys, while looking for a different shipwreck, because there are an estimated 100,000 plus shipwrecks in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, and the reason being that it was like a primary shipping route for basically all of human existence, but then also it was highly contested water in both World War I and World War II. So a bunch of marine vessels, shipping vessels, military vessels all got sunk during those war periods, and then also in war periods throughout history, and then also just because fucking sailing is dangerous, particularly 1,000 or more years ago.
And on top of that, the water there, which is, I guess, particularly briny, because there's a bunch of fresh water that gets dumped into it on a regular basis.
Yes.
Shipwrecks are preserved better than they would be in most other places.
Yeah, they just recently, I had this actually for a Patreon story, and we've never covered it, but they just discovered a ship in the Baltic Sea that they're considering the best preserved ship in like the history of shipwrecks from, I think, like 1620 or something like that. And the footage of like the ROV cameras at the bottom of the ocean, the footage is incredible. It looks like it's out of a movie. It's so pristine. The masts are still intact. The cannons are still coming out of the whatever portholes.
The Brett hulls.
It just looks, it's shocking how perfectly preserved this ship is.
If you're ever in Stockholm, there is a ship, a Swedish warship called the Vassar that was pulled out of the Baltic Sea, like entirely intact.
Crazy.
And they've rebuilt it inside a museum in Stockholm, and you can walk all the way around it. You can actually walk through it.
Oh, you can like be on it or in it? Oh, that's so crazy.
We did it when we were there last year, and I was skeptical of going to a museum that is entirely about one boat. And it was absolutely worth it. We spent like 4 hours in there and had a blast.
Dude, that's so cool.
It's incredible. It looks like it's brand new. And obviously they've done a bunch of restoration and reassembled it in this new location.
Right. But still, it came from the bottom of the ocean at some point.
It's amazing. And it's like structurally sound too. You know, like thousands of people walk on it every day.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
That's sick.
The scale is crazy too, having obviously never been on a large vessel.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize how big even like relatively small ships are.
Sure.
To not get, completely destroyed as soon as you hit open ocean.
Right. Or hit the bottom of the ocean, for that matter, when it comes to these guys and their pursuits.
This one, it made it like something stupid, like 10 miles off the coast on its first voyage before it sank. So it was brand new when it sank too, which probably helps.
That guy got fired.
I don't remember what. I did a bad job of being a student that day. I don't remember what caused it to sink, but
it just slowly, for all 10 miles, it just lost an inch after inch.
Hey, did we put the bottom on?
Oh, God damn it. Oh, man, if we make it back to shore, I'm going to kill Dave.
It's not funny because a bunch of people died, but they're like 400 years old now, so can't hear us.
They can't hear us. But Peter Lindbergh and Dennis Asberg, the partners in Ocean X, this is the type of shit they look for. They They look for boats in the bottom of the ocean to salvage, primarily for booze, but they'll take anything they can find.
Yeah.
Because
they're treasure hunters.
Yeah, they're literal treasure hunters, self-proclaimed. It funds further adventures and ventures, and also it funds their lifestyles and their fucking jobs.
Sometimes I feel like pretty good about the shit that I get to do for a job on a day-to-day basis. You know, like make beats and talk about aliens and shit. Like,
with our friends and
it's going pretty well. And then I realized that there are people out there making millions of dollars being treasure hunters.
And you're like, oh, we fucked up.
I've done goofed.
We fucked up.
Also, I have none of the skills that they do and would never, ever dive to the bottom of the ocean because that shit's scary.
Yeah, fuck that.
But
Peter Lindbergh is a 20-year diver, so he's been doing that exact scary shit for 20 plus years. And Dennis Asberg.
Not me, motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure. And Dennis Asberg is a self-proclaimed explorer, which is awesome. And he
also
founded,
definitely not me.
Yeah, and he founded Ocean X as a project to be doing more of this stuff out of Sweden. So you're right. They were looking for another ship that they were going to try to salvage from. And the main way that they try to find these things is by using sonar, right? Radar?
Mm-hmm.
Sonar.
Sound bouncing off of things.
Yeah, they basically shoot sound down at the bottom of the, sea below them and use the readings that come back to them to identify shapes. And then they go further down with ROVs and then with humans.
Like dolphins.
To figure out what those... They go down with dolphins?
No, that's how dolphins get around.
They
use
ride
sonar.
the dolphins to
Correct.
the bottom of the ocean.
Don't dolphins use sonar, or is that bats? Or is it both? I think it's both.
I think
It was
both.
Good talk, self.
I think it's both. I think bats chirp and dolphins scream. I'm gonna buy my future kid a
Dolphin?
A dolphin. No, I'm gonna buy him one of the, those like little windy things that like the lion says rawr. The cow says moo, but it's gonna be like
The dolphin says.
But that's gonna be that for every animal. The frog says
They don't though.
what?
Frogs don't scream. Only sonar animals scream.
No, everybody.
Underwater sonar
No,
animals.
everyone screams.
Whenever a dolphin surfaces, you just hear it like.
That's actually, if you get close enough at SeaWorld when they do the
Stick your head
backflips
underwater.
in the tank. Yeah. They come out doing backflips and they're just,
The ocean is just loud as shit.
it's just screaming sea animals at all times. Anyway, so
they're going around on this ship one day looking for shipwrecks, and one of the guys literally says, "quote Hey guys, we have a UFO."
that was his initial reaction to what
Yep.
he was seeing at the bottom of the ocean, which for sure taints this entire story, but also is, I guess, valid-ish to an extent.
If that's your first reaction, I think that's meaningful. Also, if you see the images that they saw first, I don't blame them. It's basically the Millennium Falcon on the bottom of the ocean.
Hey, man!
Hi.
We gotta do some shout-outs.
Okay.
Or shout-out singular, because we got a shout-out this week.
Shout that shit out, though.
A shout-out this week is from Kristen. Kristen from Dundee, Michigan. Kristen says, are you looking for the perfect true crime podcast for your drive to work?
Sure.
Well, look no further than She Sleuths. It's a true crime podcast with a side of comedy. Hey, we know how about that goes.
I fuck with the concept.
It's hosts Kristen and Amy, and they take you through compelling true crime cases with a witty side of banter. So check out the new hit true crime podcast, She Sleuths, available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen. Or you can visit shesleuths.com. Listen to She Sleuths, true crime podcast today. Go get some. All right, y'all. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Wet rocks.
So let's talk about it.
Let's.
Via sonar, in their original search, the Ocean X team found what is now commonly referred to as the Baltic Sea Anomaly. It is a formation in the bottom of the Baltic Sea, hypothesized to be around 140,000 years old.
Where does that number come from?
I believe it comes from, well, we'll get to where that comes from.
Okay.
Because it relates to some things that are found out later on. But this formation sits at a depth of 300 feet in the Baltic Sea. Mm-hmm. So not so far down. I mean, far down, but not like...
You can dive to it.
Yeah. Not as far as like that's at the bottom of the ocean type things. It measures, they were able to suss this out from sonar, roughly 8 feet high and about 180 to 200 feet across.
Yeah, it's mostly round.
It is circular, yep, in nature, but there is, I would describe it as odd geometry.
There's some
on
hard,
and around.
Hard angles and straight lines happening.
As well as like some additional circular lines beyond like the circular nature of the entire object.
There's also a trail extending behind it or out from one direction.
Yeah.
It looks as if it's been like dragged across the bottom of the ocean.
They refer to it as a sea track at one point.
It makes sense.
And it is roughly, where do I have it? It is 900 to 1,000 feet long. The track itself is.
Okay. So about 5 times the length of this actual object.
Yes.
Okay.
The track, where the track begins also, it appears that the track starts as if there was a mound in the bottom of the ocean. The track appears to start as if it cleaved that mound, and then moves towards where the towards the anomaly itself lies.
Right. So it looks as if, and people speculated that it might be something that like crashed, so to speak, split this whatever this other like rock formation is at the bottom of the ocean, and then skidded to a halt 1,000 feet later.
Where it is.
Yeah.
And if you look at actually there's a great 3-dimensional image of this view if you actually watched the documentary itself to the very end. And I encourage you to, because it's, if you're interested in this, you'll find the documentary itself interesting.
As far as free docs go, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And, there's at the end, they show you a 3-dimensional image of what the whole layout of this area looks like, because in their further investigations, they continue taking sonar mapping readings and bringing them back to be compiled into a singular, image or reading. Mm-hmm. The other piece of the anomaly, so we have like the sort of mound that is split by this track that leads to the anomaly, and then there's what they refer to as a secondary anomaly that's about 200 feet away from the main one. Mm-hmm. And it has a couple of strange features they refer to as arches. It has like arch-like characteristics to it. And some have also hypothesized that like if the anomaly itself, the primary anomaly, is an entity, is it possible that this is like a piece of it that...
Like a living entity?
No, no, excuse me, but like an
object.
A real object that is not some sort of natural man-made thing. Is it possible that this secondary anomaly is like a piece that broke off of the main one?
When it crashed.
In mega allegedly quotes.
Yes.
When it crashed. There's some other, I guess, interesting anomalies that are worth talking about with the primary anomaly itself, the one that the Ocean X team found.
Yeah.
First and foremost, and I don't think this is talked about maybe enough in it, and it actually is one of the things that makes the most sense to me, is, and actually you do get kind of a dose of it in the documentary itself, but when the guys on the boat are seeing, this thing for the first time, these guys, a lot of these dudes are like trained divers, ocean explorers. They've been on hundreds,
They
if
hunt
not
shipwrecks for a living.
right. I mean, one of the guys literally, who's one of the divers in the documentary, says he's literally done 6,000 dives in his lifetime.
Is that the old dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, man, just about the documentary real quick. What a fucking motley crew.
What a squad
of old ass Swedes.
Oh, what a squad, dude.
Yeah.
Great squad. Strong squad.
Love it.
This one guy who does a dive down to the Anomaly in the documentary says he's done dives in the ocean or in seas 6,000 times in his life. Like, I don't know what I've done 6,000 times, but that motherfucker's gone diving 6,000 times in his life.
Right.
And he himself is like, I've never seen anything like that. Like via sonar, like never seen anything like it. And
so just real quick.
Yeah.
They saw it once when they were on another voyage looking for another shipwreck.
Yes.
They're based in Stockholm. They went back to Stockholm and raised enough money over the course of a couple of years
because
to do a second expedition out to this anomaly. They recorded the coordinates, didn't share them with anyone because they thought like either this is something weird or this is a shipwreck that no one knows about. Either way, we should maybe keep this quiet for a while.
Right.
Raise some money to go back and figure out what it actually is. And so
Right.
a couple of years later, I think in 2012, they went back.
2011, I think.
2011. And actually dove down to it.
Right.
So they found it a second time based on the coordinates that they recorded the first time and organized, I think just one initially dive down to it.
Yes.
Okay.
And totally. And one of the things, even though they didn't talk about it, the photos that they took of the sonar, they did allow out as a way to help them raise money around what it was. They just didn't tell anybody where it was.
Right. So they had the sonar images and said, decided to go public with it in an effort to raise money to go back.
Right.
Kept the coordinates private.
Right.
Eventually raised enough money sort of through, and this is where the whole like, holy shit, is it a UFO like narrative came out because they kind of leaned into it in an attempt to get publicity about this story.
Right.
To raise money so that they could go back and actually figure out what it is.
Right. And it worked because there were news stories around the globe around this thing when it happened, particularly because, and again, like you're going to need to click the link in this show episode or go Google it when you're not driving. But like,
you talking about the documentary? Or
no,
to see images.
Like look at the images. Like the images are, I would say, compelling in their own right to a degree.
Yeah. So what they put, just to clarify, what they put out there the first time were not photographs; they were the sonar images.
Yes, sorry, right? Sonar imaging.
Yeah.
From like vertically above.
Yep.
The object itself.
Yep.
There are some additional anomalies I feel like we should probably talk about.
About the
anomalies,
weird things about the quote unquote anomaly. Yeah.
Weird things about the weird thing that we should probably discuss.
Anomalies on anomalies wrapped in enigmas.
Yes. There were reports of a handful of things. One, colder than average temperatures near the anomaly itself.
And that was recorded during the dive that Ocean X did, correct?
Yes.
So I think the actual difference was, I have it somewhere in my notes. Yeah, the water, like the average temperature in that part of the ocean at that depth was about 7 degrees Celsius, and it was about -1, like at the surface of this object.
Sure.
So an 8-degree difference in temperature relative to the surrounding area.
Which is interesting.
As a non-informed person, seems significant.
Totally. Oh, and we kind of went down a slight side path there, and I didn't finish that one thought about the thing that I felt like was not necessarily discussed enough. I did mention that the one guy was like, I've never seen anything like it. But I think one of the most important things of the anomaly itself is in the context of the Baltic Sea floor in the area, nothing else looks like that.
Right.
So
it's relatively smooth or like homogeneous.
Yeah.
Around this anomaly.
Right. So it's not an argument to be made, but the conversation, I think, becomes interesting because people go, why is that there? If whatever natural processes are happening on the ocean floor are happening,
something different happened here.
Something different happened here because it's very obviously via sonar completely different than everything else around it.
And then it was confirmed by actually diving down to it
that it is in fact extremely
unique.
oddly shaped, and for all these reasons.
One thing that we should maybe say up front about this dive,
yes,
though, is that they did confirm that this object, this anomaly, whatever, is rock.
Well,
it's not metallic. It's not.
But not though. Not necessarily though.
How so?
I feel like we have to get there.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. There's a couple other weird things about the weird thing we should talk about. So it's the colder than average temperatures.
Sorry, new spin-off podcast.
The weird thing about weird things.
The weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, that could be just the description of our show. The weird thing about weird things. There were reports of their sat phone that they used when they were in the boat not working when they were near it.
Yeah.
There were reports of a strong radio signal that was picked up near, but not necessarily emanating from the object.
Okay.
Is
Is this all coming from the Ocean X team?
No, this is just in all the surrounding readings.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know specifically where this one came from. No,
these coordinates are still not public, correct?
Correct. They own them.
Yeah.
Well, they don't own them, but they own them.
They have not shared them.
They have not shared them. The dive team did report electrical problems on dive devices. That came from them specifically.
Okay.
There was also a recording of radioactivity in the area, but I don't know anything enough about radioactivity to know whether that's
natural
possibly normal
or
or natural or whatever.
Also, all this stuff, you're just like taking someone's word. We don't have actual data on any of this, correct?
Yes.
As it usually goes here.
Right. As our breath and fuckery takes us.
If there were actually data on things, we wouldn't be talking about them here.
Right. There's also the element that they discussed on the documentary that when you touched or like moved the silt on the anomaly itself, it turned black. And they referred to
the silt did or the anomaly did?
The structure or like physical entity itself turned black, like underneath it. As in, like if you moved the top layer of what had settled on it, it seemed like there was something black underneath it.
Oh, okay.
They
not like it turned black, but you were maybe revealing a
blackness beneath
layer.
It. Yeah,
okay.
Which they referred to as burned stones.
Okay.
There are other physical elements of this thing specifically that we haven't exactly talked about. So there's something called the corner, which is straight up like in the ROV imagery from the ROV dive that they did. There's a shot that you can find that straight up looks like a 90-degree 3-dimensional corner. Like it looks, I mean, it like I have a screen of it in front of me. It looks like a corner of a box.
Yeah.
Straight up. Which we know like doesn't really happen in nature at the scales that this thing is at. I mean,
yes and no.
Yes and no. But like not at the scales this thing is at. There's another one where they call it the Merengue, which I don't know.
The Ferengi?
Merangie. I don't know what I googled that term. It didn't turn anything up. Maybe that's a Swedish word for something.
Like
I don't know.
Half pie and half quark. It's a Star Trek joke. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I was like, that's over my head. But it's a dome. I mean, and like the image from the ROV, it is very like smooth and dome-like, almost perfectly circular in nature when you see it. There's also just the hole, which is about
you
20.
Saying hole or hull?
Hole this time. Hole.
Okay.
Hole is in the whole pie.
Mm-hmm. Brett Hull's holes. Put it on the list.
I'd rather not. I would rather not. It's 25 centimeters across and is essentially a perfectly circular hole that almost looks like it was bored into the surface of of the anomaly itself.
So here's a question for our scientist listeners.
Dear scientists,
How I think there's a tendency in this world of ambiguity that we deal in here on the show
yes,
to assume that like things like right angles, straight lines, circles, spheres,
yep,
don't occur naturally in our world.
yes.
Part of my brain also says that has to be false. Like, I would love clarification from someone smarter than us about the actual rarity of some of those shapes in nature.
It's hi at whatifpodcast.com or
Yeah.
612-246-4614 if you want to be one of those people that are significantly smarter than us, which is probably all of you.
Because and this is going to be a really dumb take, but whatever. Part of me, when you say something like, oh, there's this circle that looks like it was bored into this thing and like, isn't that weird? Part of me is like, yeah, that is fucking weird. Why would that happen naturally?
Yep.
Things aren't like circular or spherical in nature.
Yep.
And then the other half of me is like, dude, I ate so many blueberries the other day and all of them were spheres.
Yes. Or you and I were in northern Minnesota at my bachelor party down by a river where there were like perfectly circular boreholes in a bunch of the river rock in northern Minnesota.
And if you put droplets of water onto a hard surface, they form circles. And
sure.
I don't know. This is obviously a very dumbed down version of a human being thinking. But
I get what you're saying conceptually. I for sure do. I think for me,
I just don't know what to make out of statements like that. Like,
for sure.
They're always presented in a way like, ooh, isn't this weird? I'm like, I don't know. Is it weird? Like, I need more information.
I think the argument, and I'm not necessarily saying I'm even making this argument, but I'm saying the argument related to the Baltic Sea anomaly specifically, I think, is even if that is a thing that's naturally occurring, it's kind of a lot of very specific naturally occurring geometry to happen all in one very specific centralized place that is not happening anywhere around it.
Unless that object came from somewhere else, which it appears that maybe it has because of the trail behind it.
Oh, we going straight to it, bro. Let's go.
I'm just saying that.
Let's go.
I think that's possible without this being a man-made or alien-made object. Like glaciers are things that move large objects over time.
Right. But I guess the argument, though, that I may be trying to get across is like to have a bored hole and a spherical dome and a right angle corner piece and like a 90 or 180 degree geometric cut line across this whole thing all in one sort of 180 foot disc is disproportionately strange. Yeah. Whether or not it's possible for those things to happen naturally in like any situation.
There's also the fact that the sonar imaging has been called into question in terms of its accuracy and if it was properly calibrated and all of that.
Or whether or not there was some Photoshop assistance done to maybe like bumping contrast or
if you Google
changing clarity or
if you Google Baltic Sea anomaly, you will see everything from the actual sonar imaging to
hella fan art.
Yeah.
Hella fan art.
To straight up fictionalized artist rendition versions and everything in between.
100%.
But I'm just saying, even with the original untouched image, some people who know more about sonar than I do have said, like, this was not calibrated correctly. And some of what you're seeing are essentially artifacts of it not being calibrated correctly.
Interesting.
And so, especially when we're talking about, like, hard lines or right angles, I don't know enough to say, like, is that actually the object itself? Or are we seeing some sort of artifact or distortion or interference in the actual image?
Sure. Readings being misconstrued as something that is not actually visible down there.
Yeah. It's impossible to know because only like 5 people actually know where this thing is and only 2 people have seen it with their own eyes.
Yeah, and the things that we have, which, you know, you can also you can either look up or, you know, we don't want to crowd the notes with too many links, but there is actual ROV footage from the anomaly itself, where they sent the ROV down to go explore. It's mostly pretty crappy because there is a lot of silt that's getting kicked up by the ROV when it's down there.
Pretty low visibility.
Yeah, even the diver footage that they show in the documentary itself is low visibility. It's hard to see exactly what they're seeing. You can for sure see very smooth surfaces, very like rounded surfaces. You can see lines, but they're very slight glimpses, and it's very there's not a good way to like visualize the whole thing.
In defense of this maybe being something weird, one of those people who has actually seen it with their own eyes, the diver that we were talking about earlier, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either.
Said at one point after, so in the documentary covers their second voyage out to this anomaly and back,
right,
including the dive down to it.
It was part of the, we raised money and we're going to go back to it, and we want to document going back to it and seeing what we see.
So they dove down to it, and they had, I don't know, like 20 minutes or something at the bottom with this thing.
Yep.
Before they had to ascend.
Yep.
And they took a couple samples of the actual rock. And then in the documentary, they talked to the diver, or was it divers? I think it was two of them that went down.
Yeah, two guys went down.
About what they saw, and like just sort of speculating about like, what is this thing? Have you seen anything like this before, et cetera? And one of the divers says, quote, you see, like when you got down there, you see what you think is a rock, and when you get closer, it's more like concrete. It's like someone molded it before it turned into stone.
It's a cool line. It's an interesting line.
So I'm still kind of caught up on like, what is the actual substance?
Well, so
because if we're talking about UFOs, you don't make UFOs out of rocks or concrete, right?
And that goes back.
Well, we don't know what UFOs are. We wouldn't make anything that would travel any amount of distance out of rock or concrete.
Yes.
So is this a structure? Is this of some kind? Is this a natural formation? I guess I'm more looking at that angle, but then you also have the like, well, this thing appears to have moved across the ocean floor at one point.
Right.
So what the fuck is that? And then molding and concrete were not things that existed when this object seems to have existed.
There's also, for sure. So there's also a thing that you alluded to earlier, and I pushed you off until nowish, which is that the rock samples that they did bring back were determined to be volcanic in nature.
Some of them. And I believe it was the samples that they took from the top layer. Is that right?
Well, they didn't get much past the top layer, which is kind of how the documentary ends, is in them saying we need to go back another time and do a core drilling of this entire thing. Yeah. We need to go basically we need to go down to it, and then we need to go into it, like deep into it. And if we get deep enough into it, we can actually do a core sample of this entire thing. And then we can go, what the fuck is it, to your point, made out of? Yeah. Is there an outer layer of molten black volcanic rock?
Sediment,
but is there
that's
something
hardened?
Right.
Yeah.
Or if again, this is going to sound stupid, if a fucking meteorite crashes down, like, is there, burnt up, quote unquote, volcanic rock on the outside of it when it re-enters
something that got heated in the atmosphere and then cooled quickly when it hit the ocean?
Exactly. And then is there like, asteroid or meteorite like metals inside of it if you core drill deep enough?
Yeah.
Like, I think those things are possible, but they don't have the money to go back and go get that thing.
Well, and it's weird too, because to them as treasure hunters, it's not valuable, right? They've established, in the traditional sense of what they do,
sure,
they're not going to pull anything out. It's not a shipwreck that they can take things out of and sell, which is basically their business model.
And it becomes more at that point of like a scientific discovery, which they're like,
not in the business of.
Are we going to raise money to go do scientific discovery? We're not really qualified even to do scientific discovery.
I think they'd be better off handing those coordinates over to someone who is and has a different type of funding.
Right. Now, if they maybe like uncovered interstellar metals of some value, like maybe that's of
relatively
worth.
small object, though.
Yeah, but they're not like.
And you'd have to still mine it from the bottom of the ocean. Like,
right.
I don't think that would probably be worth it.
Though I gotta say, like the thing about the core sample being expensive that I like. I mean, I definitely understand, but I don't necessarily fully understand is like we drill oil wells in way deeper water on like a fucking daily basis, basically. Like it doesn't seem like it would be.
But that makes billions of dollars for people.
For sure. I'm just saying it's not necessarily like it wouldn't be impossible to get that.
No, you just have to convince somebody that it's worth their time and money and
to go do it.
It wouldn't
be
cheap or quick.
Right. But also,
and you're probably not getting, most likely you're not making any money off of this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's not like a great way to monetize it other than like, you know, whatever you can monetize a great scientific discovery with. Which
but we're not sure that it is. I mean, it might just be a rock on the bottom of the ocean of which there are billions.
Well,
and this one just looks weirder on sonar than some other ones.
And the other thing that's been hypothesized that I find really interesting and very plausible is one of the things that happens at the bottom of the ocean a lot is there are fissures in the crust of the earth that come up into the ocean where volcanic rock can leak out. You know, there can be underwater lava that leaks until it stops in a lot of different places. And it might be possible that wherever this place is and wherever volcanic rock comes up from under the ground, like we don't know. So one of the things we know, or I know is not the right word, but like one of the things that is true is that we don't know there to be volcanic rock in this area. So, which is why it's strange that there was volcanic rock discovered at all. But it's possible that was either brought there by a glacier, like dragged through the bottom of the ocean by a glacier.
Which, to be clear, is the leading like scientific theory hypothesis about what's going on here and what this thing is.
But if there is some sort of like a puncture in the crust that leaked, you know, shit into this specific area and then plugged itself by its, you know, insta cooling when it hits the shit, like.
So we should dig it up and there's a portal underneath, is what you're saying.
And then we'll all go to Mars. Or hell. Or both.
We'll get the alien demons.
It's the same thing.
Alien ocean demons.
Honestly, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's where the octopi have been leaking through from their world into ours.
Oh, sure. And that's why they're all in the fucking ocean. This makes total sense now.
Yeah.
I do feel bad, I gotta say, for Peter and Dennis. There's a part at the end of the documentary that is kind of a bummer where they really like... They want to know that I think they're at a point where like they have spent so much time on this and it is so anomalous and strange that they just want an answer, but they can't raise the money to go back and get an answer. And they've been treated in some ways as like con men because the UFO story took hold in like the collective consciousness of, you know, people absorbing the story. People saw the image and said, looks like a UFO. And so now people think that these two guys are saying, there's a UFO at the bottom of the ocean, give us money. And what they're really saying is like... But I
mean, they also did basically do that.
I think they probably allowed that to happen early on. But like they're not continuing to claim there's an interstellar thing at the bottom of the ocean. They're saying we discovered this has volcanic rock in it. We are trying to figure out what's beneath the volcanic rock that we brought back, but we need money to be able to figure out what that thing is.
I guess I'm just saying they went the let's put this into the press angle.
Sure. They allowed it to happen.
And then at that point it was out of their hands and they initially put the UFO / doesn't this look like a UFO / isn't this weird narrative into
their
the
own
world
story.
And then also allowed it to be handed off to the rest of the world.
Sure. I just think...
Yeah, I feel you, but also they could have made different choices that wouldn't have resulted in that.
For sure. But agree with you, but regardless of that, they don't deserve to be getting what apparently at the end of the documentary are death threats.
Well, no one does, obviously.
About being con men and people like literally going, it'd be a shame if something happened to your children.
Yeah, that shit is fucked.
That shit's outrageous.
Yeah.
But it's people who are literally pegging them as your con men who are trying to convince the world that there's a UFO in the bottom of the ocean and that's not real. And like people who've hit them up and said it's a portal to hell and it's a trap by the devil and like all kinds of wild shit.
People get mad about.
Unbelievable.
Will forever fascinate me.
Unbelievable.
Who in the fuck cares if some Swedish guys take their boat out to look at a rock? How could that possibly make you mad?
And if you're fucking rich and you want to give them money to go look at that rock some more, who the fuck are you to tell those people not to give them their money to go look at that rock?
Instead of sending someone a death threat, you could just close the tab in your browser.
You could just fuck off for a hot second.
You could click your mouse once and never have to think about that again. And instead, you're going to threaten someone's child's life.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
This has been a fun episode.
It's truly unbelievable. No. That is not.
There are definitely aliens at the bottom of the ocean, though. Let's go find them.
That is not the moral of the story. I think it's more so. It's unfortunate that for them, this thing has become an entirely different thing. It's this burden that they have to carry now, and they don't have the wherewithal or the finances to be able to, continue seeking through to an answer.
Yeah.
And when I brought up the point about like the oil drilling thing, it's like, yes, it would be expensive. No, it would not be necessarily all that profitable, but there's gotta be some dumb fucking billionaire out there. Like fucking Bobby Big Stacks. Like, why can't Robert Bigelow go, here's $8 million.
I mean, we don't know that he hasn't looked into it.
We don't, but I'm just saying, like, it just seems like it would be hard to find, but not that hard to find, to really drill into this thing and be like, do we have evidence of a volcano that we never knew from earlier on? Do we have evidence of glacial migration that we didn't know ever existed? Do we have evidence of a meteorite from another fucking universe where there's like data that we can glean from the chemical makeup of whatever is like underneath this thing?
I mean, the answer might also be that people who know about those things have looked at this and said,
it's probably none of those things and we don't care.
Yeah.
And that's definitely possible. I also think it's possible too that it got so hot with a storyline that is not attractive to a lot of professional organizations that a lot of people were like, don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
For sure.
And then very legitimate companies or NGOs or organizations that could get into something like this and have the finances and the resources to do so are, an arm's length away from it because, well, it's aliens, or, oh, they said UFOs once because it kind of looks like the Millennium Falcon, and it fucking does, and so they do it a disservice from a scientific perspective because at one point it got ballooned into a thing that probably isn't. It's probably not a crash landed fucking UFO.
And there are an infinite number of other interesting things to spend your science dollars and resources on.
So you're going to be like, let's let the alien Ocean X guys do their thing and we'll go over here.
Yeah.
But I wish they didn't, and I wish they wouldn't, because I do think, with all of the anomalous characteristics around it, whether you choose to believe the kind of further out ones about sat phones not working or not, I don't really care. But
that anecdotal stuff doesn't do a whole lot.
It doesn't do a whole lot for me either. But there's enough, I think, just from the visuals and from the people who've seen it and from the people who are oceanographers and are trained in seeing the ocean floor, and enough anomalies just straight up and going if this thing is really old. Oh, by the way, to answer that question, the 140,000 years number comes from the carbon dating analysis of the volcanic rock that they brought back from the top piece of it. Which
sounds weird if you say it's 140,000 years old, but then if you just say there's a 140,000-year-old rock at the bottom of the ocean, it's not weird at all.
Right. But attached to all of this kind of weirdly anomalous geography or geometry or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It becomes slightly more that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My guess is it's either natural from like a man-made perspective, not a man-made perspective, excuse me, from like a planet-made perspective. Like it's a volcanic rock, it's shifting rock, it's glacial, like yanking in a direction.
Glacial yanking.
Or maybe it is glacial yanking, put it on the list. Or it is like a fucking meteorite or a giant asteroid crashed into the ocean at such a velocity that it maybe did like, 300 feet for
It would
something.
be an impact crater, though, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, could something be the right size where it would like when it hit the water, it would be enough?
I don't know the physics of that.
I mean, if it was the right size and it hit the water at the right velocity, I would imagine it could do some damage to the ocean floor without necessarily cratering out the ocean floor. I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
Not a physicist.
The point I guess I'm trying to make is like it seems like it's probably something that nature made, but I still think is anomalous enough for us to investigate and go, what did make it? Because it seems interesting enough to do that.
God did it. Duh.
Don't you dare. No, how dare you? How dare you try to end an episode by saying God did it? That is not what we're here
150
for.
episodes. That's a new one, I think.
Oh, God, I quit. Hey, we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Thanks for being here. If you want to leave us a voicemail at 612-246-4614. If you want to send us an email, it's hi@whatifpodcast.com. We do read every email. We don't respond to every email, but we read them all. If you want to buy a shout out on the show, we do little shout outs. It's only $50 and we'll do a 30-second shout out on the show for you. You could do that at shop.whatifpodcast.com under the shout out section. There's also t-shirts and posters and a whole bunch of other cool shit. We do got a backlog of shout outs, so we'll read some of those pretty soon here. There's also iTunes reviews. They help the show out a lot. Go leave us a review on iTunes. When we get to 500 reviews, we'll do another live episode. We're coming up on 500 reviews on iTunes. We'll do another live episode on our Facebooks. There's a Facebook group. That's pretty fun. There's a subreddit. Some folks are active in the subreddit.
Okay. We got another show next week.
$5 every month. You get an extra episode every week. We love you. Bye.